you're at retreats all the time. You go to these retreats, you give these teachings. We leave these retreats and are instantly assailed and assuaged by this insanity of human life. And honestly, though I love to believe the awakening stuff, I think that from time to time I feel what you could call despair, absolute loneliness, and a sense that there will never be a real moment of actual authentic peace in my life. And that's when I begin to question everything that you and all of my other teachers have told me. And so I wonder, what is the solution to that, and how do you emerge from the place where you are drowning in the awfulness of human existence?
The way out is through, as they say, is not to take that away, but to say, oh, this is the doubting mind. This is the despairing mind. Everybody has it. You don't think that Gandhi had despairing moments in the middle of taking down the British Empire?
Right.
You don't think the Dalai Lama has despairing moments when he looks at what's happened to the Tibetan people? You don't think Aung San Suu Kyi in Burma has despairing moments when she sees the violence that's been growing between, different ethnic groups in the country? Anybody whose eyes are open and who's human also carries their measure of despair. And part of what's true is that grief, which is really the outcome of despair, grief is holy. It means you actually allow your heart to be touched. And you go, even if you're going, oh my God, what are we going to do? It means you're actually paying attention in some deep way. And it turns out that accepting that suffering is like this. This is the first noble truth of the Buddha, that there is suffering in the world. And I wish that it weren't so, but that would be a fanciful world, that there actually is suffering. But that's only the first noble truth. So you're seeing it. You're actually having a deep spiritual realization. This sucks.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm lost.
Right.
And I'm drowning. And then you start to realize that you can breathe underwater. It's an amazing thing. Zen Master Suzuki Roshi put it this way. He said, when you realize the fact that everything changes and find your composure in it, then you find yourself in nirvana or in liberation or something like that. And what he was really speaking to was that the only place that you can find that moment, which you have had, by the way, he said, I'll never have a moment. Of course you had those moments, but when you're in the consciousness of despair, it feels like that's all there is. It sort of seals itself off from other things as this is real and nothing else is real.
Yes.
Sometimes when you're in the consciousness of making love, that feels like all there is.
Yes.
Or you're in the consciousness of walking by the ocean on a beautiful day, or out in the trees on a spring day. It feels like that's all there is.
Yes.
Consciousness does that. It sort of absorbs us in something.
Right.
But it's actually not the whole story. And the minute you say, oh, this is what despair feels like, this is what helplessness and hopelessness feels like, you bring in the element of awareness, of actually secretly of loving awareness, and say, this is part of being human. This is our human lot. Everybody, Dalai Lama and, Thich Nhat Hanh and Aung San Suu Kyi and me. And then you say, all right, if this isn't the end of the story, then what? Then what? Is it possible to bow to this, to name it and say, this is the despairing mind, this is the suffering of life? Is that all there is? And then you look around and you realize that the part of you that's witnessing it, that's naming it, that just that little tiny gesture already means that it's not all of who you are. And that there's another part of you saying, wow, we're really in despair, aren't we? We're really lost, aren't we? And that part is the part that's always free. You stub your toe and you go howling around the house, and then at some point you go, wow, really, that really hurt, didn't it? But there's some witness that's also happening, which is the timeless awareness that when you die, you're going to be lying there, whatever state, and likely, you'll see, you'll say, wow, what a trip that life was,
Right.
It's that part that can look at the whole game and say joy and sorrow, praise and blame, peace and war, love and violence, the deep spirituality of humanity, and also the fact that human beings can harm one another and hurt one another. This is part of human incarnation. And then you decide, well, all right, I see all this is in me. What do I do with it? What do I want to create? Because life is created out of you. You are life.
Right.
So, but I don't know if that's helpful.
Very. This you reminded me. I always forget. I always want to write it down. I feel like I want to write it down and put it in my wallet to remember that expansiveness and that ability to recognize that you are not your despair, your anger, your sorrow.